diplomacy is being tested at every turn with the Iranian regime. They don't seem to favor diplomacy unless they can use it to tap us along. They're doing the same thing over and over again. I know people call that the definition of insanity. I think that's diplomacy, Iranian style, by coming back with more of the same demands, et cetera, et cetera. But what has happened is that they continue to degrade in their position. We continue to advance.
Iran now demanding concessions from the United States before reopening the Strait of Hormuz, further complicating efforts to reach a peace deal between both countries. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is rejecting the Trump-backed 15-point peace plan, vowing the IDF will not withdraw until Hamas is disarmed. Alex Hogan is live from the White House with more. Hi, Alex.
Hi, Mike. Among new demands, Iran says it wants the U.S. to lift its naval blockade, pay Iran for war damages, and also unfreeze Iranian assets. Those are demands that could potentially derail what have already been delicate negotiations. At the same time, the administration is facing new pressure over this conflict. So according to a Marquette Law School poll, 75% of Americans say that they don't believe that the cost of this war so far has been worth it. And Fox News polling showing that 73% of Americans think we either get a bad deal or no deal. Senator Bill Hagerty from the Foreign Relations Committee today on Fox addressed some of those numbers.
I think the American public are indicating they're ready for a deal to be done, and that deal could be at the end of a military operation as opposed to diplomacy. It's up to the Iranians, but I think we're very close.
Congressman Auchincloss today on Fox argues that the fallout from this conflict will stretch long into future administrations.
Mr. Trump, you are the first president in American history to start and lose a war by yourself. You have made America more weak, more alone, and less respected. Congress has to take back the steering wheel from this impaired driver.
Meantime, here at home this week, the latest jobs reports revealing a weakening labor market. So take a look at these numbers. Despite 80,000 jobs expected, July's numbers show 23,000 jobs were actually cut. President Trump is currently spending the weekend in Bedminster, New Jersey, at one of his properties there. He is expected to travel back here to the White House later today. Mike.
Alex Hogan live on the North Lawn. Alex, thanks very much. For more on this, let's bring in Dr. Rebecca Grant, a national security and military analyst and vice president of the Lexington Institute. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So a lot of folks are trying to figure out where we are in this conflict with Iran. Third quarter, fourth quarter. Here's Vice President J.D. Vance.
We're just going to keep on applying the pressure that we can apply and getting as much oil and gas out of the Middle East so that Americans can enjoy lower gas and energy prices. So that's the delicate dance. Try to remind people that we're really in the middle of the game here. This thing is not over. It's obviously not at the beginning. We're in the middle of the game, and we're applying a whole host of tools, diplomatic, economic, military tools, to ensure that we get the best outcome for the American people. I feel quite confident we will get there, but we're still a bit in the middle of the game.
Middle of the game. Rebecca, where are we in this conflict in your view?
I agree with that, but remember, it's the U.S. Navy and the rest of the joint force that's in control there. The blockade that has gone back on is really squeezing Iran, and you can see that in their list of outrageous and unacceptable demands. The fact is, the U.S. Navy can keep up that blockade as long as necessary. 2 aircraft carriers there, the USS Boxer amphibious ship, all kinds of land-based air, and this is the squeeze that is going to make the difference.
Does that mean the regime will seek a deal, or is the United States military going to have to force a deal?
I think there's no question that we have to have military options ready to go. But what the past several weeks have shown us is that Iran can't take the squeeze of not being able to sell oil. Their primary terminal at Karj Island that we all know so well, where they load 90% of their oil, that is basically dark at this point. They had been shipping out mostly to China, but unable to do that. And so it is this pressure of the blockade that has been the single most effective diplomatic measure in this conflict so far, and that's why it's still there.
When the regime talks tough, is that for domestic consumption for the Iranian people? Is that for the neighborhood because they live in a tough neighborhood?
It's for everybody. And I'm telling you, I don't want to hear any more of this tough talk from Iran. Ignore their Twitter messages. You know, what's really going on at this point is that all of that neighborhood, the Gulf states, have turned against them. The Mecca Pact that 3 regional powers just signed really shows that. And don't forget, Iran is basically a proxy of China. They are an ally of Russia. And so this is a conflict with geopolitical stakes. And that's why, in the end, we've got to see freedom of navigation through the Strait of Hormuz. I think we're going to get that. And the question about weakening the IRGC, that is why we must keep military pressure in place to do that if necessary.
How challenging is it for the Trump administration to keep our allies cool when the Iranians are firing at them and their interests?
And we've seen some really, really perplexing strikes. You know, we've seen strikes on everything from the nearly 2,000 drones and missiles that went over to the UAE. We've seen data centers, you know, owned by companies like Amazon hit in the region. We've seen tankers and other ships selectively picked off. But I've got to tell you, I think the Trump administration has done a great job of keeping the Gulf partners together. And this is a big reversal in the Middle East. And don't forget, President Trump wants to come out of this with momentum towards the Abraham Accords and a situation where Iran can't be a danger and China can't sneak in to dominate that region. That's why we've got to have the patience to see this through.
Do you worry about a broader regional conflict? We've seen some fighting in other places. What about that? Could it spread?
Right. And we've seen, you know, the Houthis try to get in, but they're just a sideshow at this point. I think we have so much air and sea dominance with our Gulf partners that at this point, I don't see that spreading. Iran's strikes have gone down, down, down because our military really has taken out most of their power projection capability. It's just a matter of finding the way to get the strait safe enough for international maritime traffic to resume the flow through that strait. And we're going to end up in a situation where we've got it contained and we've got the number one objective, and that is not having Iran on the path to a nuclear weapon or the ability to threaten that region. That's what's at stake here. I know the gas prices are high. I get it. But this is why we have got to keep that in place. And we've got 50,000 U.S. service members stationed there still carrying out this objective.
We see at the bottom of the screen 86 days to the midterms. Does your gut tell you this will go before the midterms, after the midterms, end of the year? Have a gut instinct?
Yeah, so tough to say because Iran is so irrational. But I see an interim agreement here. I think there are glimmers of progress in the Oman-Iran talks. Remember, it is Oman and Iran that have run that waterway for a long time. Oman keeps all the traffic and the radar flow through there. So there are glimmers of hope there. I think we'll see a resolution of some sort in the strait and an uptick in traffic within a much shorter period of